Important conversation now as families bury members of the South African National Defence Force who lost their lives in eastern DRC. The City Press news site is reporting that plans to return those who are wounded back home have stalled. According to the report, about 190 wounded and sick South African soldiers, of whom 2 are pregnant, were told on Friday that they would have to wait a bit longer before returning home.
The situation in the DRC continues, and more and more lives are being lost, and soldiers are being wounded. And today, as I'm recording this video, from the bottom of my heart, I sympathize. Words cannot explain how I feel, and how I sympathize with the brethren who have lost their lives. These are not only 10 people. As we look at numbers, it seems like leadership only twitches or moves when the numbers are big. But these are not just 10 soldiers who have died. These are someone's brother, these are someone's husband, these are someone's son. Imagine if it was your brother, imagine if it was your son, imagine if it was your husband who have lost their lives. We understand that soldiers sign up to pledge their lives to defend the sovereignty of their countries, including defending international law. So, in circumstances like this, where we have to stand with our neighbors, including the Democratic Republic of Congo, but the question remains: the situation is not being resolved. You ask yourself, for how long is this gonna go on? Sadiq sits and have a little conversation and great speeches. AU sits and have great conversations, and they eat and leave. Nothing is being resolved. While the continuance of lives being lost continues. There's no one life which is not worth enough to grab our attention. We should be doing more in trying to resolve the conflict, because I ask myself, what is the point? What is the ultimate goal in all what is happening? Are we now trying to defeat the M23, or are we gonna keep on just holding on until, because it doesn't seem like the M23 is gonna be defeated anytime soon? Is the fighting going to continue on and on? Is more and more lives of our brothers going to be lost? Have we finally decided that the M23 are criminals or rebels, that as we are defining them? I can see so many other journalists, even pretty much would say average people, being able to have conversation with the M23. But the African Union cannot have a conversation with the M23. SADC cannot have an envoy that can dedicate themselves to try and resolve the conflict and trying to have a conversation. If the Democratic Republic of Congo's government cannot speak to their own people, if they remain in arrogance and label the M23 as criminals, why are we still there trying to help? They should be able to uh, put away their egos and be able to settle the differences. Instead of putting more people on the ground to die, we should be doing more in trying to resolve the conflict. We should be doing more. We should have a task force dedicated day in, day out to try and strike a deal between the M23 and the Congolese government. We cannot maintain the status quo. We cannot keep on like hanging on when so many people, when lives are being lost, when people are being injured, when the brothers from South Africa are just dying. What about other countries? What about our neighbors? The problem with Africa is we do not hold each other accountable. We have a culture of not holding each other accountable. What conversations are we having with the Congolese government? If they continue in arrogance, not wanting to speak to the M23, which claims to be the people of the Congo, I might be of the view that the M23 are also criminals. I think the main fight is not for recognition. I think the fight is for mineral, the control of the rich mineral region of Kivu. But at the end of the day, we ought to dedicate more effort to save more lives. More effort should be done to try and resolve the conflict, to try and have people to sit down in one room. Somebody said we should lock the M23 and Paul Kagame and the Congolese government in one room so that nobody gets out there until we have a solution, until we can have an answer to stopping this thing, because it's gonna keep on continuing and continuing. And I think the blame ought to go more to the leadership of Africa. What conversations are they having with the Congolese government? Are they just gonna support them in ignorance? Not trying to have a solution, rather more effort should be pushed in order to have dialogue between the parties that are involved here. We are just going with this thing in perpetuity. Is it just gonna be conflict for years? We have seen this, that fighting the M23 is not the solution. You're not gonna defeat them. It's been decades and decades, and millions of lives have been lost, including the people of Congo themselves. It is the sole mandate of SADC to resolve matters. It is the sole mandate of the African Union to resolve these matters. We should have a dedicated envoy so that we don't have more and more and more lives lost. Africa, we need to be responsible. We have to look at ourselves as Africans. And Africa, we have a problem of not holding each other accountable. We keep on tiptoeing around matters, writing great speeches instead of being action oriented. We should have more boots on the ground. We cannot deploy 100 some soldiers to try and fight this dangerous rebellious group, multiple of them which are well equipped. It's like we are sacrificing our own people. More efforts and more resources should be put towards having a resolution rather than trying to just maintain the status quo while these people are losing their lives, while these people are being injured.